Evolution of Roman religion, from polytheism to Christianity. The gods of the founders, 753-509 BCE, when according to tradition, Romulus founded Rome in 753 BCE. Religion was inseparable from civic life. The Romans inherited much from their Italic and Etruscan neighbors, household gods, fertility spirits, and sky deities. At the heart of early Roman religion were the noumena, divine forces or powers, believed to dwell in every part of nature. The Romans did not imagine their gods as distant. Rather, the divine world and the human world overlapped constantly. Each family honored its lairs, household guardians, and penates, protectors of food and the hearth. The head of the household acted as priest, offering daily sacrifices. In the public realm, priests called pontifices maintained rituals that bound the city to the gods. Rome's kings, and later its magistrates, performed sacrifices before wars, laws, or civic projects. The gods were not approached through love or intimacy, but through do et des, I give so that you may give. The Romans expected blessings, victory, and prosperity in return for correct rituals. Failure meant disaster. Religion was a contract. The Republic and the Pantheon expands. 509-146 BCE. In 509 BCE, the monarchy fell and the Roman Republic was born. Religion remained at the center of state life. Priests interpreted omens, augurs read the flight of birds, and magistrates ensured that festivals honored the gods on the right days with the right offerings. The Senate often consulted the Sibylline books, collections of oracles, to decide on religious innovations. As Rome expanded across Italy and beyond, it absorbed the gods of conquered peoples. Greek influence was especially strong. Jupiter was equated with Zeus, Venus with Aphrodite, Mars with Ares. Temples in Roman style rose in honor of deities once foreign. The Roman pantheon became a blend. Old, Italic gods fused with Greek myths and cults from the East. Religion unified the Republic. When Rome faced crises, the Senate introduced new gods. In 293 BCE, the cult of Aesculapius, god of healing, was brought from Greece during a plague. In 204 BCE, during the Second Punic War, the black stone of the goddess Cybele was carried from Phrygia to Rome, her cult promising divine aid. By the mid-2nd century BCE, Rome had conquered the Mediterranean. The gods of Greece, Egypt, Syria, and Persia arrived with soldiers and traders. The Roman pantheon swelled. The Age of Mystery Cults, 146-27 BCE, Rome's rapid expansion brought wealth, slavery, and social turmoil. Many Romans felt that traditional rituals had lost their power. The state religion seemed more about politics than piety. In this atmosphere, mystery cults flourished. The worship of Isis from Egypt, Mithras from Persia, and Dionysus from Greece promised personal salvation, secret initiation, and eternal life. These cults often welcomed outsiders, slaves, and women, groups marginalized in Roman society. Their rituals were emotional, involving music, feasts, and symbolic rebirth. The Senate sometimes cracked down, most famously in 186 BCE, when the Bacchic cult was suppressed for alleged immoral behavior. But repression could not stop the tide. By the 1st century BCE, Rome was a religious melting pot. The old gods still had temples, but new forms of spirituality drew the hearts of the people. Augustus and the imperial cult, 27 BCE, 14 CE, the Republic collapsed in civil war. Out of the chaos rose Octavian, who became Augustus in 27 BCE, the first emperor of Rome. Augustus restored traditional temples and revived old festivals, presenting himself as the protector of pietas, the sacred duty to gods, family, and country. But Augustus also introduced something new, the worship of the emperor himself. In the provinces, especially in the East, temples to the genius spirit of Augustus were built. Emperors were not officially gods during their lifetimes in Rome, but after death they could be declared divus, divine. Julius Caesar was the first, honored as Divus Julius. Augustus became Divus Augustus after his death. The imperial cult served politics more than theology. Worshipping the emperor symbolized loyalty to Rome. Yet it gave the empire a religious glue, a common act of devotion, binding diverse peoples under one ruler. The first encounters with Christianity, 1st century CE. Into this world of gods and cults came a small, seemingly insignificant sect, the followers of Jesus of Nazareth. Around 30 CE, Jesus was crucified in Judea, under the governor Pontius Pilate. His disciples claimed he had risen from the dead and began to spread his teachings. At first, Rome saw Christians as a branch of Judaism, a religion granted legal status. But as Christianity spread to Gentiles across the empire, its differences became clear. Christians refused sacrifices to Roman gods or to the emperor, acts viewed as treasonous. They met in private homes, shared meals, and called one another brothers and sisters. Rumors spread of strange rituals, eating flesh and drinking blood. By 64 CE, after a great fire destroyed much of Rome, Emperor Nero blamed Christians. Tacitus records that they were torn by dogs, crucified, or burned as human torches. Persecution was sporadic, but the reputation of Christians as dangerous outsiders grew. Religion in the High Empire, 1st-2nd century CE. While Christianity spread quietly, the official religion of Rome flourished. Emperors like Trajan, 98-117 CE, and Hadrian, 117-138 CE, built grand temples to Jupiter, Venus, and Mars. The Pantheon, rebuilt by Hadrian around 126 CE, symbolized the inclusiveness of Roman religion. All gods could be worshipped under Rome's roof. Mystery religions continued to attract devotees. Mithraism, especially popular among soldiers, offered a brotherhood sealed by secret rituals and underground temples. The cult of Isis appealed to women with promises of protection and rebirth. For many Romans, religion was not about choosing one faith but honoring many gods for different needs. A soldier might sacrifice to Mars for victory, join Mithras for salvation, and still pray to household spirits at home. Polytheism was flexible, pragmatic, and tolerant, so long as one also honored the emperor. Christianity, by refusing all other gods, broke this rule of tolerance. Crisis and persecution, 3rd century CE. The 3rd century was a time of chaos. Invasions, economic collapse, and plagues shook the empire. Many Romans feared the gods were angry. Emperors tried to restore favor through strict religious laws. In 250 CE, Emperor Decius issued an edict requiring all citizens to perform sacrifices to the gods and obtain a certificate, libellus. Christians who refused were imprisoned or executed. The persecutions under Decius and later under Valerian, 257-260 CE, were the first empire-wide attempts to suppress Christianity. Yet persecution often strengthened the faith. Martyrs like Cyprian of Carthage and countless others inspired courage. Christian communities cared for the sick during plagues, earning admiration. Despite opposition, Christianity grew, especially among the poor, slaves and women, but also reaching into the army and elite. The Great Persecution and the Edict of Milan, 303-303 CE. By the reign of Diocletian, 284-305 CE, Christians were too numerous to ignore. At first, Diocletian tolerated them, but in 303 CE, urged by his co-emperor Galerius, he launched the Great Persecution. Churches were destroyed, scriptures burned, clergy imprisoned, and sacrifices demanded. Many died, but the faith endured. In 311 CE, Galerius, dying and desperate, issued an edict of toleration, admitting failure and asking Christians to pray for Rome. 2 years later, a turning point came. In 312 CE, Constantine, before the Battle of the Milvian Bridge, reportedly saw a vision of the cross with the words, "In this sign, conquer." After victory, he and Licinius issued the Edict of Milan in 313 CE, granting full religious freedom to Christians and restoring their property. For the first time, Christianity was legal. From tolerance to triumph, 4th century CE, Constantine favored Christianity, building churches and calling councils to settle disputes, such as the Council of Nicaea in 325 CE. Though he himself delayed baptism until his death in 337 CE, his patronage transformed Christianity. From a persecuted sect to a partner of the empire, successive emperors continued this trajectory. In 380 CE, Emperor Theodosius III issued the Edict of Thessalonica, making Nicene Christianity the official religion of the empire. Pagan sacrifices were outlawed, temples closed, and the imperial cult abandoned. By the end of the 4th century, the religion of Jupiter and Mars had given way to the religion of Christ. Legacy. The evolution of Roman religion was not a sudden leap, but a gradual transformation spanning centuries. From the household gods of Romulus to the universal god of Theodosius, Roman religion reflected the empire's journey. Polytheism had united a city and then an empire, flexible enough to embrace countless gods. But it was Christianity, with its claim of one God for all people, that ultimately offered the unity Rome sought. By the fall of the Western Roman Empire in 476 CE, Christianity had become the dominant faith of Europe, carrying forward not only spiritual hope but also the memory of Rome itself.